Like Chris, it's a finale, man. You gotta do finale type stuff. This is the one that last episode was a penultimate episode, and now it's like the grand,
We should have said
the
draft.
fireworks.
We should have said the draft for this episode.
Nah. Draft is penultimate. It's like the Battle of the Bastards.
I have no clue what you're saying.
Or Battle of the Bastards, or the war where all the White Walkers killed everybody, and then they raised them up. Yeah. That was the penultimate episode. It's like those big, like, whoa. Yeah. And then you have your finale.
You feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never lack those. She saw the stone, you know how that go. Fatality, my diamonds that cold. Versace trunks, I hit my backstroke. Knock on the door, she at the back row. All I really take is a little taste. I like girl blue eyes with a little bass.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Next to him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, we've been drafting since around May, early May. Really, AB has been drafting since early May. Yep. The landscape has changed since then. How have you guys not only have changed drafting, but let's talk about this first waiver run, which is over now. Have you guys retooled your teams already? Who are you looking to drop? Who are you looking to pick up on the waivers? Since the episode is going to come out after this first waiver run, feel free to drop some jewels on us.
I still got another one on Sunday.
Yeah, we got two waiver runs. Yeah, we can't give it all up.
We still got shit. We might have to pick them up next week.
I mean, there's obvious names on the list. All you got to do is take a look at the ADP board from May and take a look at the ADP board today. Yeah. Guys have emerged, other guys have fallen. Situations have become a little bit clearer. And then week one's going to happen, and, none of that's really going to matter at all. So, personally, I just can't wait until Thursday, until this weekend. I literally cannot wait. I am tired of takes. I'm tired of opinions, myself included. I just want to see games, okay? Yeah. So, I think, early on, going back and kind of doing a self-audit of my teams, this year, I think I am glad that I drafted a bit earlier. I'm glad that I got in the dynasty a little bit earlier. Daniel, I appreciate you for pushing me over that ledge. It's definitely taking on a life of its own, but it allowed me to become more acquainted with a lot of the rookies. In the incoming class, I watched a lot of film and developed opinions of my own. And this was pre-draft. So guys like Damian Pierce that I was asking you questions about whether or not I should pick him up, before the NFL draft and seeing his landing spot, or, being high on guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, I was able to get those guys very early on in the draft season, very late, just because I felt like I believed in their talent, and seeing kind of where the NFL is going as far as, incorporating and bringing rookies along a little bit sooner than years past. I felt a little bit more comfortable, especially when I'm taking those guys so late. So, having guys like, Wan'Dale we talked about, or even Romeo Doubs, it's, for me, like that's been a huge advantage. And then there are guys where the situation wasn't as clear. And I think we talked about it, in our first couple of episodes, that these are really the situations that we were trying to key in on early. And we were trying to, figure out, and then, ideally trying to target in drafts. And so, anyone from like a Chase Edmonds going in like the 9th, 10th round, or even a Mostert going in the 13th, 14th, 15th round, just guys like that where you can like now pull those guys from your bench and start them immediately, or like have that just extra depth on the bench. So, and then the last thing, mention is, I think we all kind of, approached injuries in a similar fashion this year, each case being different, but we were trying to really avoid the Dobbinses of the world, especially more specifically when they were going in the 4th and 5th round. And by doing that, we were able to grab Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore early on in the 5th round, and pairing them with a Kamara in the 3rd round. And so you got some of these teams that, again, we don't know what's going to happen, come December, come January, but for me, at least it's a nice, good start. So that's a long-winded answer, but I don't know. What's your thoughts, Dale?
I agree with everything you said. Yeah. I definitely feel like the teams I drafted earlier were my better teams. Not all of them, because some of my some of my takes, or not takes, but some of the people I was on initially, I changed on pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The more I kind of looked deeper into it. I remember the first draft, I really only drafted because Abby had been drafting, and I just wanted to kind of dip my toes in the water a little bit, and I just jumped in the draft.
FOMO.
Hadn't looked at rankings, haven't thought about, situations. I just want to kind of get a feel of the landscape of the boards, because, we're always talking about studying boards and kind of seeing how things fall. I just kind of want to get in a groove. So I did that. It wasn't my best team. I had a fair amount of picks I still like, but I think by that fourth draft I did, I was like, okay, I got a good feel of it.
Yeah.
And again, the point that you made as far as you being able to get these guys back then at such discount, I won't even say they're discounted prices, because that's what their price was at that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't a discount. It's just that their price increased quite a bit since then.
Yeah.
One thing that I did kind of realize that I need to kind of take into account going into draft season next year is in our early drafts, the players that were in kind of mysterious situations, as far as, we might feel it might go a certain way, but we also think it could easily go another way, or we were maybe nervous somebody else was going to come and just kind of change the situation. Players like that were gotten at a really late price, or cheap prices. Yeah. While the players that there was certainty of, those are the guys that was going high. Yeah. And then as the offseason kind of progressed, those players that we had, a little bit of ambiguity as far as question, mystery, they started to rise up the draft boards. And that's somebody like a Chase Edmonds, somebody like Kamara, somebody like a Romeo Doubs. Even though I wasn't on Romeo Doubs, going through Dynasty, I did recall feeling that maybe Doubs was the better wide receiver out of the wide receivers the Packers picked. And that kind of let me be aware of who he was. But he was a guy that going super late.
Lazard.
Lazard, he was going super late too. And once A-Rod started saying that's the wide receiver one, he shot up. Of course, Damian Pierce, we don't really have to speak on him, but you saw how he shot up. So these players that, you were drafting early in these situations where, there's not a true defined role as far as what they're going to play. You can get such these discounted rates that now you're looking back, you're like, wow, these teams that I was drafting earlier are stacked. So I definitely do agree with that.
Yeah, and that was one thing I wanted to change with my approach this year, knowing that I was going to start drafting in May, was to really take a look at the board and circle and highlight guys that I felt whose ADP was going to rise. And those were the guys that I was targeting. And I still think there are guys that are going a little bit later in drafts, that potentially.
Too late now. Shoot.
Over. Like someone like Kadarius Toney. We saw, he was going, he was going in the 8th, 9th round at times throughout the offseason. And then we saw his ADP really rise. I think almost to the point where it got to like the back end of the 6th, early 7th, and now. We're seeing it drop again, and it's just because his name has just not been hurt. You're not hearing his name, and then we know that he was down for he was out for an injury for a period of time. We haven't seen him in preseason. And that's the thing. Right. If you're not hearing a player's name or you're not hearing much about him, like these players just tend to drop just by
out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. And so he's someone now, like I, literally, just grabbed in the main event. He's going basically in the 8th round now, and so he's someone I'm kind of targeting on my board as far as like, okay, if I'm trying to build a team and I want to take early stabs at tight end and quarterback, like that's a guy that I may circle and say, okay, here's a guy that I'm willing to put my chips on as far as like a flex who could really provide something, and then knowing I can pair him with like a Wandale Moore or Wandale Robinson, like those are good options.
Yeah. Now on the flip side, and this kind of leads into what was even the reason you brought this question up. Yeah. There's certain players I did draft earlier in the game that now looking back, especially now that we're doing waivers, I'm like, let me kind of get these guys off my roster. Yeah. I don't want to say I was wrong on them, but because every player has value, so they still have value, but I just think there's other players that are on the waiver wire that I think has more value than them. Yeah. So it's not like I just want to discard them because I think they're trash. Just more so I'm just weighing the balance of value. This guy, I put this guy on my lineup or on my bench.
You give me one guy
more bang out of my buck.
We
were talking about Deontay Foreman.
Okay.
And people might still have a strong feeling as far as Deontay Foreman being the direct handcuff to C-Mac. So if C-Mac was to go down, which he's done the last couple of years, and we've seen that backup running back position for the Panthers be valuable, then Foreman is a great pickup, which I'm not going to totally disagree on. I think why I'm starting to waver now is I think Chuba Hubbard, I think we were kind of too early in saying he was out of the picture.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think he'll be involved. I agree.
Right. So with Chuba Hubbard still being around and them utilizing him as much as they did during this offseason, the shine on Foreman isn't as bright anymore.
Yeah.
You know, for me. You know, it's almost where I could go Foreman or Hubbard, which, and then with that being said, if C-Mac was to go down, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do use both those running backs.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, the value of where I was taking Foreman back in, you know, your June, July, that's not the same place I have him now. You know, so it kind of made me say, you know what, I'm not really feeling Foreman right now, and I was actually going to drop him a fair amount of my teams.
Yeah.
I decided against it, but he's a guy that I'm not as high on anymore. And I did a draft within this past week, and I saw he was going as late as like the 18th round.
Yeah, he's going pretty
where,
late.
you know, back in June, he was going as early as like the 13th, 14th round. You know, so
People were kind of seeing him as that high-end
Right.
handcuff. And it's not just like, you know, okay, who are you dropping him? Because you're not just wanting this to, you know, have 19 roster spots in an FFPC or one less roster spot in whatever league. It's who are you dropping them for?
Right.
And so I think that's the biggest thing. Gronk was a big one for me. I definitely took that roll of the dice and crapped out. Who knows? He may come back though. There was the you know, a couple of reports of Brady
were
still
you
trying to
drafting
reach out.
Deshaun Watson?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. I maybe have like one share or so, one or two shares at max.
Are you going to try to pick him up?
No, it's too early for me.
So at some point you're going to try to pick him up.
I don't even know. I guess it depends on my this year, because of how late or in deep the QB room was. There are not a lot of teams where I feel like Deshaun Watson would be very helpful. I mean, if he's out there and I got the roster spot and I feel like, okay, maybe he can be a difference maker, yeah, of course. But he's not going to be someone like I'm targeting at this juncture in time, knowing he's going to be out 11 games.
I don't even think he's rosterable regardless of the situation at all.
Yeah.
Me either.
I think he's going to come back way too late. But I do know there was a time where a lot of people were drafting him, especially after the news came out that he was going to be gone for just 6 games. You know, people would take him. So I just kind of wonder, those players that have him on their roster, what are they going to do? Are they going to drop him, or are they going to ride it out? And I think he's the only player, because PUP used to be 6 games, but now it's 4 games. So those players are coming back pretty soon. D-Hop's suspension is 6 games?
6 games.
He's going to come back and, you know, he'll be fine. So I think it's really Watson is the one player that people have to decide, are they going to ride him out? Or even, not even him, but also Jameson Williams.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like people have to decide, because he is being drafted pretty much across the board.
I will tell you one thing about waivers is I didn't really put any high bids on anyone. Maybe there's like a league or two out there.
Nobody?
Maybe there's like a league or two out there where, you know, if we have like $1,000 budget, maybe I put up like $80, $90. But I mean, that was like a rarity.
That was the highest you went?
That was like a rarity. I think most leagues, like I was really, because what I was seeing is that, you know, you can get excited about a guy. And that's the thing, is like, when we're doing
I know
waivers,
where this is coming from.
you know,
This is Marquez Callaway. I get it now. I get it now. Okay,
but you gotta learn your lessons. But I'm, you know, and I'm not approaching every situation. But I did look at the landscape, and I didn't see that there was like one guy I had to get, even someone like an Isaiah Pacheco, because there's just no certainty there.
Yeah, I cooled off on him a whole bunch.
So essentially, what I did was like, okay, is there a need on this team? If there was like a strong need and a strong player, let me put out that $80 to $90 bid. But that was a rarity, because what I saw was like, when I took a step back, say it was a Gronk team, and maybe, you know, the only tight end I have is Ingram, or even a Hooper. I think I got one team where it's just Hooper. You know, obviously, like early on, Isaiah Likely is out there. I didn't want to like blow my fab on Isaiah Likely. You know, he's like kind of hot name, and he could do good, but like, they still have Mark Andrews. They still have Rashard Bateman. What is that? What is the third
still
option?
Have Lamar Jackson throwing the ball.
What is the third option in that receiving game ever done? You know, so outside of being like, you know, a really strong handcuff, like, do I really want to blow my fab on that? And then I'm looking at, okay, there's more.
By the way, don't forget about Devin Duvernay. Don't sleep on him. Of the Ravens.
Yeah. But so, like, I'm looking at this situation where it's like, okay, Isaiah Likely's out there, but so is Mo Alley Cox.
And that's what I was saying.
Brevin Jordan in a couple leagues, and then our boy Conklin. So I'm like, if I really, really think
Johnny
hard,
Smith.
and I try to think about the first 4 weeks of the season as far as like what the production may look like, you could easily see any one of those 4 guys outproducing the pack.
Oh, yeah.
So why spend?
course.
Yeah, so why spend like $80 to $90 on Likely, knowing I'm only going to put $2 to $3 in for Mo Alley, 2 to 3 for Brevin.
Why you even trying to pick up Likely?
I'm just saying, you know, but I'm using an example.
Let me ask you this.
I'm using an example, but essentially, that's kind of how I approach the waiver wire. If there was like a large tier of players and it wasn't a strong need, it was just $2 to $3 bids,
let me ask
$15
you
to
this.
$20 bids here and there.
Let's speak on waivers a little bit. If there was a guy that you really liked, let me just throw a name out there.
Yeah.
If freaking Damian Pierce was out there, on one of your waiver wires, how high would you be willing to
that would be dependent
put
on the
money
team.
up on him?
That would be dependent on the team. And I know it's early, and I know injuries can happen, and that he can maybe be helpful down the road. But say I had 3 running backs that I felt really good about. Like, 2 running backs that I got like in the first 4 rounds, or first 5 rounds, and then a running back I got like round 6, 7. It's just kind of, pick whatever names. So I got 3 running backs that I really like. I'm not gonna blow my fab on Damian Pierce.
Give me a number. How much are you like?
I may put
what are you
like,
comfortable doing?
I'd probably, for a situation like that, price and force, I may put in like 212.
212. Okay.
That's like my
that's
like my price and force build.
Your top end.
Yeah. If now if it's a 0 RB build team, and I need a running back, then I'm gonna go heavy on it.
What's heavy? That's what I'm asking. Like,
I can't give that out. I can't. Come on.
Okay, you don't want to give it out. Okay, that's fine.
Wait, no. So
I guess I'm trying to see what's the highest you would go on a player.
Probably like, I'd probably be looking at like 600 to 700.
Okay, so 70% of your 60 to 70% of your
60 to 70% of my
budget
build
off top.
For Pierce on a 0 RB build
for
team.
a great player. I mean, you can put any player in there.
Well, that's the difference. So say like Alexander Madison was on the waiver.
No, I'm talking about a great player, like somebody where, for instance, for teams that you drafted early, probably wasn't being drafted, but then now he's being drafted like in the
But that's what I'm saying.
round.
Say it was like a handcuff, and that person, and the starter got injured. So now they are like, it's like a pretty obvious situation that they're going to be there. Like someone like that,
70%?
I go like 70, 80%.
Okay, that's cool. So you'll blow the majority of your fab on a.
I go 90% if I have to.
Okay.
So let's say that it's a 0 RB team.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor goes down. Naheem Hines is there. You'd blow.
I'd blow 80 to 90%.
So what's interesting though about everything you just said?
Because I got potentially anyway 16 to 17 weeks of Naheem Hines.
Yeah.
So
and then the rest of the way, I just got to manage my budget, and I don't have to necessarily worry about waivers because I got most of my money gone. That's like a mental load, just like.
So from just hearing you talk about this whole thing, I guess what I took from that is you determine your waiver wire ads by your current structure of your team.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I think I'm different in that fact that it really doesn't even matter what type of team I have. If I see a good player on the waiver wire, I'm gonna go pick him up. I honestly, across all my teams, it's probably gonna be the same type of players I'm picking up because I'm all about collecting talent.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
So whether if I have a team where it's 0 running back, like I only have like 3 running backs, and I saw Pierce, I'll put a certain amount of fab up. If I have a team where I have 8 running backs, I'm gonna put probably the same amount of fab for somebody like a Pierce because for me it's about getting that talent on my team because again for me it's a game of attrition. Guys get hurt. Just because you have players on your team that are filling certain roles doesn't mean a player that's available won't fill that role better. For instance, if you have like Travis Etienne, a great running back, right? According to the way we're drafting, he's starting to give me 15 points a game. That's pretty good, right? But then I have somebody else that I can pick up that can probably give me 19 or 20. I'm gonna go try to get that guy, and I'm gonna put Etienne on my bench. While other teams probably have Etienne, they're starting him. For me, it's about just collecting the talent. And then the last point is, again, remember this is a competition across thousands of teams.
So you don't want anybody else to get it.
Bingo. I'm not trying to allow somebody else to get stronger. I'm almost playing a little bit of defense. Like, okay, if I can't use them, I'm not going to let you use them to be able to not only beat me but get ahead of me on the field. So again, that's just kind of interesting that you said your waiver wire is determined by as far as your build.
It is.
Let's stay with the Jags for a second because reports are coming out that Robinson is going to have no limitations. We've been drafting ETN. What
did they say? It's no limitations. That's what they said.
It says no limitations. It might get a heavy workload.
Who said that? The coach or some beat reporter said something?
Let's look at it.
I mean, that's interesting if they said no limitations because he hasn't got any.
That's what Doug Peterson said.
No limitations.
No limitations. It might get a heavy workload. So
he said that too.
Yeah. So let's think about where we're drafting ETN. Since we're talking about the Jags for a second, where we've been drafting ETN and where Robinson is one of those players that might still be undrafted.
Yeah. Not undrafted, but undervalued.
In those early leagues, he might be still undrafted. I mean, because at that time we didn't think that he was going to be back nearly this
early. Yeah, but I think he's probably still being drafted. But you might be right.
So let's think about the Jags for a second. How do you guys feel about ETN? Do you feel comfortable about, starting him immediately, or is he one of those guys that you essentially have to wait and see?
I love the story. Mm-hmm. I love the story. I'll put it this way. I'm getting in draft just to draft ETN. Yeah. Like, I love the story. Like, I love this story. This dude coming off an Achilles, barely practiced, has not played in a game in God knows how long, and he's supposed to get a heavy workload week 1. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, all we're hearing about is the most explosive player in camp is ETN. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like, I have 0 shares of James Robinson. No, thank you. He wasn't the most explosive back to begin with. Yeah. Now you're coming off an early Achilles. Mm-hmm. How has that fared for anybody coming off an Achilles? Like, anybody. Name me one person coming back from Achilles who's looked good that first year. Or who's even come back the first year.
Yeah. I mean, outside of Cam Akers last year, but it wasn't at the beginning of the season. But
yeah, how did he look?
I mean, it was towards the end of the season. Like, he looked decent.
Decent?
Decent.
No, he looked like trash.
Okay? He was okay.
He was trash. No, he was not. He was trash.
He was serviceable during.
Serviceable?
Yeah, he was serviceable.
You clearly did not have any acres on your playoff.
No. Actually, I didn't have any acres on that.
Yeah, no. But personally, for me, yeah, like this, I think because you saw ETN get as high as literally, I think like the late second, like early third. So now he's falling to the back end of the third, fourth. So this is like when I've been like trying to get my ETN shares. Before it was a little too high. Now, like with some of the wide receivers that I like being pushed ahead of him, and the wide receivers coming after him kind of being in its own tier. And there's a running back tier that I'm just like, when I'm in these large field tournaments, I just don't necessarily feel comfortable drafting at that 3-4 turn. ETN's like, to me, like a guy that I'm willing to take a stab. The upside there to me is tremendous.
So when ETN early draft season, when ETN was being drafted, he was actually going in more like the 5th round.
Yeah,
maybe even the 4th round. Yep. And then this hype started to build around him. People got really excited. I'm not
remember, he was coming off a List Frank, and no one knew like how healthy he was.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, so it was his first, and it was his first year off the List Frank. So people weren't quite sure. And then once he saw that he was healthy,
because something kind of shot his ADP up, and he was going like you were saying, early third, as early as the 2nd round. Mm-hmm. Full disclosure, I never drafted ETN when he was going in the 5th.
Yeah,
and I for sure wasn't drafting him when he was going in the 3rd. Yeah, but kind of like what you're saying, I wasn't jumping the drafts to get ETN, but the drafts I was in when I did see him go late, I was eventually not targeting him because now his price was back to where it was when the drafts were still going on. And I value drafts, so for me, I was looking at it as, ETN is going at such a discount at this moment, and if he's as talented as everybody thinks he is. Why not get him now and have a loaded roster where I can actually benefit from him? Mm-hmm. So I got a trace amount of shares. It's not too crazy. Now, as far as whether I feel comfortable starting him, yes, because I think ETN's game and James Robinson's game is different regardless. Yeah. Even if James Robinson was healthy. I think ETN, and we spoke on this last year because remember we had the ETN discussion. That was how ETN is coming into his rookie season. And Abby was looking at him more like he was going to be like a wide receiver, right?
No. I'm still not I've never been an ETN fan, but I don't necessarily have to be a fan of the player. It's kind of like Rashad White.
Right.
If because I do value situation. So me looking at this situation, I like Snoop Conner, but he's a rookie. And the other running back is coming off an Achilles, and there's nobody else. This is a team that I do see being in negative game scripts. Right.
I'm
viewing it the same way as Swift.
But I'm just talking about kind of what we were discussing last year. I think part of the discussion we were having last year was when Urban Meyer drafted him. They were talking about, especially when he first started practicing with the team, they were talking about practicing him a lot with the receivers, running routes and things like that.
Yeah.
And then, because I remember you were still kind of saying you were liking James Robinson, because I felt like James Robinson was going to be phased out.
Yeah, that was my issue. I felt like he wasn't going to have enough role, given where he was going in drafts. Yeah.
So now looking at Travis Etienne now, I still think he is in place to have that receiving role for the team. And we're talking about PPR leagues, which is the majority of the leagues we play in. I think Etienne is still going to have tremendous value. I think the Jaguars are still going to be a team that's going to be coming from behind quite a bit. He still has that rapport with Trevor Lawrence, his college teammate. And, we're getting these great reports coming out now, but James Robinson is coming off that major injury. So I see Etienne as far as still having value, especially in the 5th round, regardless of what we're hearing about James Robinson. Well, I think he's going more in the 4th now, Abby. Etienne, like early 4th, mid 4th?
Yeah, late 3rd, early 4th.
Okay. It's still kind of high, but, definitely not as high as it was.
But this is the thing, though, because it's not just we can't just say that he's going in the late 3rd, early 4th. You also have to compare where other players are going around him. Like the board is tightened up. This is about as tight as they're going to get as far as because we're only a couple of literally less than a day away from the NFL season. We've gotten all the information that we've gotten, and so ADPs, just kind of everybody's consensus. There's going to be players here or there that we feel are wrong or misappropriately priced, but for the most part, it's tight. So before, if, I would have still taken a Cortland Sutton, a DJ Moore over him, but now those players are going ahead of him.
Right.
And I'm looking at, players, next players that I like on the board, I know I'll be able to get in the 4th round. So players that I'm not a fan of are getting pushed down, and players that I was a fan of are getting pushed up. So,
all right, so let's talk about the Ravens for a second. Lamar has given the organization a deadline of Friday to kind of hammer out this contract situation. If he does not get this contract extension, do you guys still feel the same way about Lamar? Do you think he's going to play the same?
Oh, my gosh, Chris.
This matters. He has a lot to risk. With his playing style, maybe he's not going to be running as much.
This was your Dak argument. To me, I approached this.
No. My Dak argument, that's totally different. My Dak argument is that now that he got paid, he's not going to try to show out as much because he already got his money, and the team themselves are going to probably try to put a little bit more bubble wrap on him, tell him not to go crazy because they've invested so much in him. This situation with Lamar is actually kind of similar to the situation when Dak had that great season before he got hurt, where he had that 5-game stretch where he went crazy because he was still playing for that contract. But again, the reason why this whole question is annoying to me because nothing's going to change with Lamar, man.
No, he's going to play. Lamar's Lamar.
Yeah, he's going to play. He's going to be
Lamar.
He's going to be who he is.
You can, number one, you can't change your instincts. Okay. 2, the offense is based on him, around him running.
He's not going to hold out.
He's not going to hold out.
He's going to play.
Yeah.
He's not going to not play as hard because he still wants to show everybody he's the guy.
You got to play for that contract.
Yeah.
But the thing is, without that contract, are you really going? If you feel a twinge, if something is, it's just ailing. But are you really going to push yourself the same way?
We just watched Deshaun Watson sit out an entire season and be suspended for damn near almost an entire season and get paid the highest
and that's what's screwing things up
of a QB
but the thing about
at a guaranteed contract.
They clearly don't want to pay him that.
But I'm saying, even if he does get hurt, he's still going to get paid.
But it may not be the same thing.
But the problem is if Lamar goes out there and starts to put out bad tape as far as not showing he's actually putting a full effort, the value of the contract for him is gonna go down.
And I think he just got
so.
Didn't he just get a Ravens tattoo on his chest? That don't sound like somebody.
I think he's had that. He's had that for a while. That's not new.
Right.
But you're not gonna say this is what y'all willing to pay me. Now I'm gonna just cakewalk the season and now I want you to pay me even more. No, if you want them to,
why not?
Because you're tanking your value.
No, but y'all don't have a choice. Get rid of me. Then.
No, they do have a choice. They can franchise tag him twice.
Right. And you see what that happened, and you see how that worked out with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, they got what. Keep in mind. If the Ravens have decided they're not going to pay Lamar what Lamar wants, then essentially they already can start to say, let's start to plan for post Lamar.
Yeah, I don't.
So if you give yourself 3 years this year while he's under contract. 2 more franchise years, that gives you plenty of time to actually find what you're going to do when Lamar is gone. Because, again, they're deciding not to pay him. If they really believe Lamar was the guy, if they really believe Lamar was the guy that they needed, then they will most likely give him whatever he wants. But there's a battle going on. And I actually talked about this with my friends in my group chat earlier today. All of this to me, and I'm making an assumption because obviously nobody's been on record, but all of this, honestly, to me is all about the guarantee part of the contract.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Lamar likely wants a contract that's fully guaranteed like Deshaun Watson has, while owners, because I think it's almost to some extent collusion, owners are saying, no, that contract was ridiculous. That's an outlier. We're not going to use that as a precedent, which is really what this boils down to. And we're going to give you a contract more like what the two other quarterbacks that got paid after Watson got.
And and really some owners can't do that because they have to have that money in escrow for if it's guaranteed. So not all organizations are Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. So some of them may not be able to do that. So it'll get worked out.
Let's stay on the Ravens for a second because in an interview, Lamar sort of dropped some news or, broke news by saying that, hey, he hopes to get Dobbins back after a couple weeks. Do you guys have plans in place? I know that we were talking about Mike Davis. How comfortable do you feel starting Mike Davis if you know that J.K. Dobbins is going to be out for a couple weeks?
First week, it really just depends on who I have, but if I needed to start him, I would start him. Or if I felt like there was a questionable, you draft somebody high, I probably would start Mike Davis over Breece Hall first week. I likely would. I don't necessarily know that I had that choice, or because I don't really have a lot of Breece Hall, but yeah, I think I would start Mike Davis ahead of Breece Hall. It's the better O-line, the better offense. He's going to have more scoring opportunities, and Kenyon Drake just got there, and I dislike Kenyon Drake as a player to begin with. So I feel like, in certain situations, I may just take, what I get from Mike Davis and see where that goes and see where that gets me. He's probably going to be someone I'm going to be hard-pressed to start. I don't have a lot of teams where I feel like I got to throw him in the lineup. But the thing about the Dobbins situation for me is that it may not just be the first week. It may be 3 or 4 weeks. So what I want to see with Mike Davis, and this may trick you a little bit, and things may get a little dicey as weeks move on, but I want to see kind of what his role is the first week. I want to see pretty much for everybody in the NFL. But if I see that he kind of has a certain role, he's getting a certain amount of touches, he looks pretty good, because I do think he's a player over a 4 or 5 week game span that can really provide you some numbers. Then yeah, I'm willing to start him. And that offense with Lamar, they're in the red zone so often that it doesn't take much for him to fall into the end zone. You just need a TD, and he can catch the ball. He can play third down. I may start him.
Let's play a game real quick.
Wait, I need to comment on this.
No. I want you to comment on this. All right, Mike Davis or Cam Akers, and answer with who would you start, Mike Davis or Cam Akers right now?
Would I start week 1? Mike Davis.
All right.
I still have to comment on this whole situation.
No. I want you to. Go ahead.
So Mike Davis over Cam Akers. Keep going. I want to see how far.
I know.
But okay, the question you ask is, if Dobbins is gone for these first 2 weeks, would you feel comfortable starting Mike?
First few weeks,
would you feel comfortable starting Mike Davis? And my question to you is, if you didn't feel comfortable, why did you draft him in the first place? Because this is the time when you would play Mike Davis when the starting running back is out. You're not going to play him when he's on the bench.
But that's why I wanted to play the game of who you're going to sit.
And now if you have better options, of course you're not going to draft. Not going to put him in.
Let's go through the better options.
But if you don't have better options in your roster, and you need somebody to fill that running back role or even a flex role, this is literally the time. Yeah. This is literally what you drafted Mike Davis for. Because remember what we said last week. Yep. After that early stretch of him being the guy, we're not even going to really want to roster him. Because you got Drake there. You got Drake there. You got Justice Hill there, who are both going to be pass catching options. And then Gus Edwards is eventually going to come back. I even saw something recently where Gus Edwards said, rehab is going great. I'll be back soon, better than ever. The typical words. Yeah. But that's irrelevant. But the point I'm making is he's coming back. Yeah. So you have Mike Davis on your team. All right. You wasted a roster spot. Play the dude.
Okay. All right. So if you have Mike Davis, you're starting him over AJ Dillon.
No. Come on, man.
All right. Are you starting him over ETN?
No.
You're getting a little too high.
Are you starting him over Chase Edmonds?
No.
All right. Montgomery.
No.
All right, well then, who are you starting with? If you
remember-
drafted him,
But remember the question.
I'm going down the line.
Remember,
What about
I'm
Clyde?
not saying you take
CH?
somebody that's a good option
Yeah.
out of your starting lineup. Put Mike
Agreed,
Davis in.
agreed.
What I'm saying is, if you have a spot where you can put Mike Davis in your lineup and he's the better options, play him.
CH.
No, you're naming all these guys that are running back ones on their team.
Amari Cooper.
I'd probably start him over Cooper. I'd probably start him over Cooper.
Ooh, okay.
Just because I don't believe in Brissett.
Yeah.
And
Christian Kirk?
I'd probably start him over Kirk.
Really?
Yeah.
Elijah Moore.
No.
Okay,
I like
I'm about to
Elijah
say.
Moore.
Okay, I'm about to say.
I like
All
Elijah
right,
Moore
all
a
right.
lot.
All right.
Okay.
But again,
So we basically
remember-
looking at just to kind of tie a bow on this. We're looking at like
no, don't tie the bow yet.
You named
can't
one
talk
guy.
about
No, say your thing, but I gotta say one more thing though. So go ahead.
I'm just saying, if we're starting them over those guys right now, we're kind of looking at like a 7th to 8th round value week by week. Because guys that you're starting him over, are guys that are going in the 6th or 7th round.
Okay, but again, what I said was, if you drafted him, this is what you drafted him for. Otherwise, you wasted a draft pick.
And that goes back to like
Because
draft
this is what
psychology.
you're supposed to use him for.
That goes. That's why there are certain players that I don't draft. People will always ask me, "Do you like this guy? Do you like this guy?" This is why I don't have a lot of players like Brandon Ayuk. Doesn't have to me. It doesn't have anything to do with
It's gonna
Ayuk
be
as a
hard
player.
to start him.
It's like for me personally, some people will just
You
put
don't
a
wanna
player
put him
like
in
that.
your lineup.
Yeah, some people are fine putting that guy in the lineup, knowing they can kind of deal with the peaks and valleys. But to me, like his end of like season total points. And then obviously points per game, like it's not high enough for me to take that risk.
Right.
Where I can do that with someone like a DK Metcalf. So I'm like, why put that pressure on myself?
Well, if you did draft Ayuk,
Yeah.
and say your wide receivers went down, you have to play him because that's what you drafted him for. That's what I'm saying. Like,
But
that's why team building is so important. Like, don't just
Yeah.
randomly draft guys just because they're pulling up on ADP or somebody.
or
told you
draft
to
them
pick
later. Like I'll draft Ayuk later once I feel comfortable with my
But
starting
Mike Davis,
roster.
people were drafting him. 15th to 19th round.
Yeah.
This is the time to play him. This is when those. I mean, unless you're just trying to again play defense. Now, if that's the case, okay, I get it. You just don't want another team having him on their roster.
Yeah.
But if you draft him with the expectation to eventually utilize him, this is the situation. Like it doesn't get any better than this.
All right, so let's talk about Antonio.
Bow tie.
What a bow tie.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Antonio Gibson for a second. His situation has kind of changed.
Yeah,
Brian Robinson, unfortunately,
He might be going too late these days.
Gets shot in the leg. Now we've gotten reports that says that it's in the glute and in his leg. Still no timetable for him to return. How do you guys feel about starting Antonio Gibson now that Robinson is not behind him, at least for this first week? Do you guys feel any differently about him?
I feel like he's a great start. I feel like it's a great start because I think they're playing the Jaguars this week.
Yeah.
Jaguars have an improved defense. They drafted quite a few star guys. The number one pick was a defensive guy, obviously, but they're still a team that's most likely the underdog. And, usually running backs on favorites tend to do well.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the only reason. Second reason is he's been the starting running back there. There's familiarity as far as holding that role down. McKissick has not been a guy that has typically done main running back duties, and there's no other guy there to split the pie. It's just between those two guys. Now, of course, they got somebody there, and it's probably somebody I don't even realize is on the team. I think Jared Patterson was released or waived, so he's not there. So somebody's there that I'm
Unless
just
he
not
got picked
aware
up
of.
in the practice squad, which is
But at the moment, it's just the Gibson and McKissick show, and the goal line carries and the between the tackle carries most likely are going to go to Gibson. And the value that you can get Gibson at the moment is so late now because people really haven't adjusted the drop in values ever since the Brian Robinson news came out. I think you can get him really late, and if you need to utilize him this week, I think he's actually a great play. I think he's a great play.
I just drafted Brian Robinson like pretty late, and we don't know if he's really gonna play.
I think he's gonna play at some point.
I do think so. I think the bullet missing ligaments and bones and things like that. I think he'll play, but you don't. But this just kind of goes to your point about Antonio Gibson. Now I will say this: like I've been more excited now and have drafted more J.D. McKissick now than I did.
Oh, you late?
Pre.
Yeah, you late.
Well, before I did not like the idea of Gibson, McKissick, and Brian Robinson. Like I did not want to deal with that. But when there's only two now I like it. And it's always hard to figure out what's going to happen in game. But this is a game that they should win. Yeah. So this is a game where I could see like Gibson either falling into the end zone or grinding it out a tad bit. Right. Like if they were playing the Chiefs, like I'd be smashing.
Yeah, it'd be a McKissick game.
But I still do think that McKissick is still actually a pretty good play this week. I really do think. I think because he's one of those guys like they're going to design touches for him. Even though Wentz doesn't check it down as much, like they paid him that much money and they trust him. Yeah. There may not be a trust factor there with Gibson just yet. So I don't think it's necessarily a lock that Gibson just gets a lot of touches because I've seen them give J.D. McKissick carries.
Well, so first off, we need to figure this out. If it's a two-man backfield, they're both great plays.
Yeah.
Gibson, because I think he's going to be the first running back. And I'm saying this, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if the first running back that's trotted out this Sunday is McKissick. I wouldn't be surprised. Gibson could be that much in the doghouse, and we just don't even realize it yet. But
you better not be returning kickoffs or punts.
I think they still have him returning kicks. So, but until I hear anything different, and again, if it's still a two-man backfield, I think both of them are great plays. McKissick, I wouldn't mind playing regardless of the situation because Gibson fumbles once. It's the McKissick show the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Like it's not even a question, And McKissick is gonna get that pass work. Like you said, they paid him a good amount of money and they stole him away from Buffalo. Like that's how much they valued him.
And real talk, we need to figure out who the RB2/3 is for the Commanders.
RB3, man, stop being disrespectful. So yeah, I think they're both great players. I've actually drafted a lot of McKissick a long time ago because I always felt like he was going to be the only one to get that passing down work. And I was just looking at his numbers in the past, and McKissick has had a pretty good floor in the games that he's played.
Jonathan Williams. Ooh.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he doesn't. He's
okay. I mean, you've seen some flashes. Yeah, it's Jonathan Williams one fumble away.
I mean, I think he's 2 fumbles away, or a fumble and an injury away.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Williams has never really done anything in the league. He's not anybody I'm not really worried about. Yeah. Talent-wise, it's still going to definitely be Gibson. But again, Gibson makes a mistake. Obviously,
I guess more so like radar, because Gibson isn't the most like sturdy back. So
that's
most of us have him on the radar.
Happen, so yeah.
So Chase Edmonds, I'm just looking like he just posted this GIF 5 hours ago, but this GIF about like him not really being injured because
I was in a draft, bro.
Wait. Finish what you're saying.
Yeah. So about him not really being injured because
he's saying he's not really injured.
Yeah, because reports came out that
he posted the Trump GIF. You can't see my face, but the Trump.
We all know that Trump. Something.
Really?
Yeah.
Basically, it's like, so I'm injured. Oh,
because you can't ignore groin. Now remember when we had the discussion?
It was limited though. It wasn't
I know it was limited. But remember we had the Rashad Penny discussion some weeks back. Yeah. It was a groin injury, and I told y'all, man, don't worry about it. We're still weeks away. It's no big deal. And I was right. We literally y'all almost forgot all about that discussion. But now that we're days away.
Yeah,
groin, because like you were saying then, a groin is no laughing matter.
Yeah, I pulled a groin, man.
That can linger.
You don't never want to pull a groin.
Yeah, we're days away now.
But he was limited also, so I feel like if it was like serious, like you wouldn't be limited.
He might have injured it during the practice though.
Man, I don't know.
If he injured during the practice and he had to leave mid practice, then that would.
I mean, I'm looking at this gift. And it's actually right below your.
I didn't see that tweet. So it's below my tweet.
It's right below your tweet.
Oh, really?
But
what did I tweet today? Okay, yeah, but that's good news though. That's actually good news because I was a little concerned.
Yeah, so I'll say I was in a draft like when that news dropped, or like I think it dropped maybe about an hour, and I'm just sitting here and I'm praying. I'm like, man, please let everyone in my draft see this dude, and he didn't fall not even a little bit. So.
Oh man,
the news don't move that fast, man. Come on, man. Was it a slow draft?
No, it was fast.
Man, people are not looking at the news while they're drafting.
I wanted to put it in a message.
You were not drafting and looking at Twitter.
Y'all hear about Edmonds?
Check NFL.com. Like, my pick is coming. I got us. Any new news? No, man.
That would have been too obvious, right? If I would have been
you should have
seen the Edmonds news? That would have been too obvious.
That's what you should have done.
I feel like if somebody posted something like that, I would draft that player out of spite.
You know what you should have been like, oh no, Chase Edmonds. That's what you should have done right there. Exclamation point like 6 times.
Right.
People would have went crazy.
Actually, that's a good way. Damn, I should have done that.
Yeah. All right. Sorry for next time.
So the league, the NFL season officially starts tomorrow. In FFPC, you get sort of like a free look tomorrow.
Which people don't take advantage of enough.
Really?
I think last year when we started talking about it, I don't think a lot of people were aware. Because remember I told you first. I told you.
I was aware.
No. Maybe it was the year before that. It was a Texans game.
Probably the year before that, yeah.
It was a Texans. I told you, and you didn't know.
Yeah.
You were like, damn, for real? And I think you wanted to find out, and then we found it, and I don't think anybody knew, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, Abby, don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
What did Abby do?
Don't say
What did Abby do?
Did you hear about this?
Went right onto the pod.
Then other people started talking about it, but now I think it's more common. I still don't think everybody knows.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot more common. Because I think that year with the Texans Chiefs, I think that might have been the first year they did it.
Yeah. That's low key why I had like so much Devin Singletary, because I still kind of like the play, but I was like, you know what, kind of in the same tier as some of these guys. Let me just take them in the 7th, 8th, 9th round at times. Like
you know what's crazy? The teams playing in this first look game. The players or the weapons they have on their team are all such great weapons that people are just going to draft them regardless about whether it's a first look option or not. So it really wasn't as beneficial this year as it was last year.
That's why it's the later guys. So to me, it's like the guys like the Tyler Higbees.
It was Van Jefferson for me. But
oh man, I had to drop so much Van.
I sort of see it the opposite way though. Like, I sort of attach like my waiver wire that way. It's like, hey, since I get a free look, let me pick up, a guy from, Buffalo or from the Rams and let me start
in waivers.
In waivers, and then plug him in. And
there's not a lot.
It's the same thing.
He just may score a touchdown.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
You picked up Lance McCutcheons?
Hell no.
I thought somebody asked you on Twitter the other day about one of the Rams you drafted. I don't even know these wide receivers for the Rams' names.
Well, I
haven't even given them respect enough to actually, because it's like some like weird spelling name.
I'm looking at Tutu Atwell and Ben Skoranek, and I just remember Ben Skoranek dropping like wide open passes. I'm like, and just looking at him like, this dude.
Wait, it's another
should
dude,
not
right?
be on the
In
list.
those early drafts, like Isaiah McKenzie is still available.
There's another dude for the Rams, right? Lance something McCutcheon.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
I picked him. It's 20th because I can pick him up in the 20th round. Because at this point, like the board has been pushed up. There's just like not a lot in the 20th round. Not a lot. So much so that I'm like drafting defenses and kickers earlier. Normally I would like wait till 19th, 20th. But the draft has been just so dried up that there's not a lot of guys that I'm like willing to like or like wanting to pick up, or guys that I don't think I can pick up on like a second waiver run. So I'm like, you know what? Let me take a shot at this Thursday night game. And
so you drafted him for the first look?
Like This is guy, like he will get dropped after
like you're not
Thursday.
looking at his long term.
No. Unless, if he balls out though, I may hold on, another week. If he scores a touchdown, because really my whole thought process behind Van Jefferson was that the Bills secondary is weak. They're weak. They're potentially starting a rookie. They're missing Tre'Davious White. And they have a pretty decent front, defensive front. And then when you look at the Rams, they're weak in their running game. Like their line is, somewhat weak, but they're strong with their receivers and their quarterback. So if they're gonna be competitive in this game, and if I'm thinking I'm, McVay, it's got to be through the air. And I'm just thinking you always see Van Jefferson, there's a couple plays here, and I think he did it last year as well, streaking down the middle of the field, on a deep post. Just wide open, off a play action pass, because people are paying attention to, the other two wide receivers, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp at the time. So whoever that wide receiver is on that play, if he can if he goes 2 for 70 and a touchdown, boom, that's a starter right there.
Okay, so let me tell y'all a good way to play this first look stuff, right? The way I would recommend. No. This is for. Oh, I'm not gonna give it so they can use it now. This is for next future reference. Yeah, file it away. Yeah, file it away. Right. I'm not gonna say the best way, but a good way of playing this, and this is you kind of going off the wall with the way you do things is. If you can, or in that first waiver wire run, draft both kickers. Draft, or if you can, and this is if you have the roster space. Say you have some bums on your team. Draft both kickers. Consider drafting the defenses. Consider drafting some wide receiver 3s, running back 2s, running back 3s. Once the game plays out, if one of the kickers goes off, keep that kicker. If both kickers are trash or both defenses are trash, drop them on the waiver wire run for Sunday.
Yeah.
That's how you really get a good first look. Not so much filling the players that are being drafted anyways.
Yeah.
But these players that nobody's drafting, that you don't care whether you have them on your team or not, all you're doing is getting that one first week.
Yeah.
That kicker gives you 14 points.
Yeah, in all honesty, the majority of the draft, you should not be basing it off the first week. Like, let me take this guy higher.
No, this is more so if you drafted early, you're probably going to drop.
I agree with you.
You're probably going to drop these players, and you're like, you know what? I don't know who to pick up. Kind of like when you were talking about McCutcheon. Is that his name, McCutcheon or something?
Lance McCutcheon, yeah.
McCutcheon. Okay,
I think it's McCutcheon.
Somebody like him, a good play. Of course, he's not there. Draft the kickers because it's not going to be every year the first game of the season is going to be one of the two highest potential offenses.
Yeah.
I think last year was it the Dallas Bucks last year? Mm-hmm. The year before that, again, Texans Chiefs.
Yeah, that Dallas Bucks, man, that caused, I think Amari Cooper was going in the second round at times.
Yeah, after the game, right? But before the game, he was going to good value. Yeah. So, again, take advantage of that first look, man, because you could really – and, again, there's no risk.
Yeah.
If they're nothing, if they're no good, just drop them on the next waiver wire run.
Yeah. All right. So, guys, for our last topic, I kind of want to talk about just projecting out to the future. Right?
Yeah, because this is the finale. I don't even think people know that. We ain't doing this next week.
So, this is our last.
We ain't doing this next week. Get it in right now.
We're getting in the lab. So, this is going to be our last episode going forward. Let's project out a bit. Mm-hmm. We'll probably do another episode first quarter to talk about those, the first 4 games. Right?
We'll do it like we did last year.
Who do you think is going to be?
Maybe.
Who do you think is going to be the surprise player of this first quarter? Someone that no one is really thinking about, but who's going to really emerge as a top player in fantasy right now? That's a hard one.
Not for me.
I got a couple.
Who you got?
Wide receiver, Sutton is my guy. I think he's someone who could really explode. Tight end, Njoku. I think that's kind of been my dark horse for a good majority. And then running back wise, no secret, Chase Edmonds or Mostert. Okay, I just think that backfield in general. And then I'm going to add in one more wide receiver. He's not going late or anything, but people have just been kind of scared to draft him, so he just kind of settled in at the back end of the second round, and that's Tyreek Hill. So it's really that Miami offense, I think, is one that, everything that I'm hearing, the pieces that are in play, the coach, the system, it just seems to all fit together for this offense to really potentially explode. So I've been just trying to get some piece of that offense. If I can't get Chase Edmonds, let me try to get Mostert. Let me try to get Tyreek Hill. Let me even reach for him for a little bit. Let me not be scared to draft him at the back end or mid-second. So that's been an offense that I've been getting in. I don't have really much, if any, Waddle, which may be a mistake. But he's just going so high. So those are my guys as far as kind of, guys that may show out.
All right, Daya?
So for me, I like, I guess I don't have specific players names-wise, but I have, groups of players, specifically the rookie wide receivers. I think this whole draft season they were going way too late. These rookie wide receivers, once we actually see them on the field in competitive action, you're going to realize how much we've undervalued them. We're talking about your Wan'Dale Robinsons, your Jahan Dotsons, your Traylon Burks, maybe even Drake London, even though I think he's the highest rookie wide receiver going. All these rookies, Romeo Doubs, George Pickens, all these guys, the only reason their value is so low is because we haven't seen them out on the field yet. Once they've staked their claim as far as being the number one wide receiver or number two wide receiver, once they dominate in those roles, their value is going to shoot up. I mean, you can look at the way we're drafted now compared to guys that were in the NFL draft last year. Jamar Chase, Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
Players like that. Who else am I forgetting? I don't even remember what other rookie wide receivers were last year, but these guys are going a fair amount higher now, all because we finally were able to see them on the field. So I think those guys by week 3, week 4, and I don't know which one. I'm not going to say this specific guy is going to be the one, but I wouldn't be surprised if, a few of them end up showing out quite a bit. The next is going to be, and again, a group of players, But
no, like give us some specifics. Like that's too safe. A group of players.
Well, I mean, I could.
He's trying to hedge.
Right.
Not really a hedge, but
We're not gonna hold you to it.
This is last
just give us a
episode,
guy.
man. Come on, dog.
everybody's situation is unique, so I can't
I
really
know,
say
but
this
we're
specific
projecting
player.
out. I know we're projecting out.
But
I'm not gonna hold you. I'm not gonna hold you to it.
But it has to be a group because I see them all the same. I see them all just like the rookie wide receivers. I don't see any difference between Dotson and Wandale. They're pretty much the same type of person.
Okay.
And same thing can be said about these second string running backs that I still think you can get extremely late, like your Dontrell Hilliard. Like Hilliard is one. I like Hilliard. I like Eno's role. I think these are guys that we know they're not going to be the workhorse, but the workhorse in front of them is not going to take all the snaps and all the carries.
Yeah.
And these are guys that are going to be the next man up, and they're going extremely late. Like these are guys that you can actually play when you're in a pinch. You know, right now. And if an injury occurs, because I mentioned something on Twitter a week ago, this is the first offseason I can recall where there was not a major injury to any high-end running back. You know, because the big thing about zero running back is you try to take these high-end wide receivers and you kind of bet on the fragility of the running back position. Somebody's going to get hurt, and one of those late running backs will be able to supplant that value. While, again, going last year, we saw it happen with Akers going down, Dobbins going down, ETN going down. These are guys that were drafted high. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you have this, this coal on your roster. Those injuries that we expected in the offseason are going to probably occur in the first week of the season. And these guys I just mentioned,
I really do think so.
Their value is going to skyrocket up. Skyrocket up. So those, I'm mentioning them because I think we kind of forgot about these backup running backs. You know, all right. I would definitely try to keep stacking them. As far as tight ends, you mentioned a fair amount of tight ends. Conklin, y'all know, is my dude. He's always going to be my dude. Jonnu Smith, Mo Alley Cox, Brevin Jordan. I'm hesitant to even bring his name up, but I think if Brevin Jordan can come into his own as far as, once, because he's going to get the opportunity. That's the thing. He's going to get the opportunity, which is why I'm bringing him up. But if he doesn't take advantage of it, he's going to fall into the abyss. But if he does, he's going to be pretty good value as well. And as far as the quarterbacks, Mariota, I think, is a guy that could be, if he keeps the job, of course. But the way I expect him to use his legs, he has Konami code written all over him. Yeah, they're most likely going to be losing a lot of games, which means he's going to need to throw the ball a lot as well. So now you're getting Konami code running as well as garbage time stat padding. Yeah, he's a guy that's probably undrafted. So all those guys there, defensive wise, don't sleep on the Lions, don't sleep on the Texans, and kickers. A kicker is a kicker. Go follow Linda.
Lutz for the kicker.
Yeah.
I like Elliott with Philly.
Don't sleep on that Browns kicker, man. Cade York. I like what I've seen. I mean, he was drafted in the 4th round. Ain't too many kickers that are drafted.
I just don't know if they're going to be in the red zone too much with
maybe they might have a hard time punching it in. I mean, this guy can kick from deep. Like, they can have an offense where, like, hey, just get to the 40 and just give us the kick. We'll take it.
You only need 2 60-yard field goals.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Like, before we head out, let's give some thanks, shout-outs to people who we know in the fantasy community who has helped us with the pod, just helped us, had us on their show this season. Specifically, I do want to give thanks to the guys at Goat District because there were a couple episodes where I think we streamed and they kind of helped me do the technology portion on that. So I really appreciate that. Those guys are always gracious and helpful.
Yes,
in
sir.
our podcast community. So, would you guys have any shout-outs for the season?
Yeah, Go District, shout-out, Muzio. Thanks for
shout out to Muzio.
Thanks for allowing us to be a part of the best ball tourney. We very, very much appreciate it. I want to give a shout-out to Tejas and FanUp. I think we're going to start talking about that, or at least I will start talking about that format. Something very unique for drafters who or just kind of looking for a different type of competition that is not saturated with analysis, saturated with players who are, entering multiple lineups and have sort of kind of the system figured out. It's a very unique format in my opinion, with a good payout, with not a significantly like high rake, and it's fun and easy. So check out the app FanUp. Also would like to give a shout out basically to all of the listeners, all of the followers. We do this mostly for fun. We're not charging anybody anything. Every day we joke and laugh about like, we find it odd that people actually listen to us. We find it odd that like, we're getting downloads, and this is the second year for us doing it. It's been a huge learning curve. We've learned a lot this year. And I think we have some like really, really amazing ideas for next year. And, one thing I know we all like to kind of keep some of the info to ourselves, but, I really would appreciate at least if we can kind of expand and, increase our followers. So, if you're following, please share. Maybe not necessarily, I guess, the people in your league if you don't want, but please share it to as many people as you can. Like, subscribe, just, say, hey, these some guys who are like, if we helped you out. If we didn't help you out, obviously just, unfollow. But if we did help you out, share the pod. Anything that we can try to do to grow. It'll also help us kind of, better our format and better our pods for you guys moving forward.
I just shout out the listeners. It's really
I don't shout out to nobody.
I just shout out the listeners. I just shout out a whole group of people.
One last shout out. Yeah,
wait,
shout out
I'm giving my shout out.
Okay, good.
Damn,
I forgot.
You're giving. No, for real. Shout out the viewers and the listeners. Really, we do it for y'all. We're not really doing it for any other experts. We're really not even doing it for people that are good at fantasy. Well, me personally, I'm trying to do this for people that, aren't in the know, that want to get that edge, that want to even get involved with fantasy in the early stages, because, I think this is a fun game where, when people play it and they actually understand certain aspects of it, certain skill sets, it can take them a long way. And it can be profitable. There's not everybody that's in the high stakes realm like we are. I didn't start off in the high stake realms. I had to kind of be pulled in by Abby. But, it's really one of those things where, you just get into the pool and just, it's nice. It's not something you can't do. So, I appreciate people listening. I appreciate people watching. Like Abby said, it's always weird for us to kind of sit back and think people are actually listening to our shows, because, we're just talking football, just like everybody else out there just probably talking football. We're talking about the way we view things, which can be right or wrong. I don't really think being right or wrong is really as important as just having a process and just kind of being able to think things through, being able to bounce ideas with people that think a little different than you, just so you can, realize they are wrong, but realize, a different way of viewing things. So, so that's my shout out right there. Also, shout out to my mom, my dad, my sisters, my frat brothers, cousins, white kids, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's our season finale for this season.
Trying to get us in trouble.
Right.
Shout out to family, friends, loved ones, significant others.
Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.
Yes, sir.